All right, everyone, welcome. I am going to call this executive meeting order to at 9:33 a.m. But before we start off, let's start with territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on traditional unceded territories of Coast Salish people, including the Musqueam, Squamish, Swallowtooth, Coquitlam, and Catsi nations. Unceded means that the territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. As we move on to roll call of attendance, when I call on your position, please state your name, your pronouns, and your access needs. The president is on LOA, so I'm going to move on to myself. Everyone, my name is Judith, she, her pronouns, and all my access needs are met. I will pass it on to the VP Finance.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abby. He, him pronouns, all my access needs are met. Thank you.
VP University and Academic Affairs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki. Good morning. I go by she, her pronouns in terms of access needs. I'm pretty tired, but yeah, I think a lot of people are tired too. I will be keeping my camera off. I'll try my best during this meeting, but yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikki. And yeah, I think second cup of coffee. I'm going to move on to the VP External and Community Affairs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ishana. She, her pronouns. All my access needs are met.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'm going to go to now the acting VP Equity and Sustainability.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arthur. He, him pronoun, and my access needs are met.
Awesome. Thank you. Vaibhav will not be joining us today, so I will move on to society staff. Board organizer.
Hi, folks. Sorry. This is Ella, pronoun she, her, hers, and all of my access needs are met this morning.
All right. Thank you. Building manager.
Hi, all. John here, and pronouns he, him, his, and all my access needs are met.
Temporary operations organizer.
Hi, everyone. Cindy here, pronouns she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Policy research is not here today, so I will move on to admin assistant. Fanny in the chat. Hi, everyone. My name is Fanny, she, her. In terms of access needs, I am still recovering. My throat is pretty sore and my voice is not in a good condition to be used. So I will be using the chat to communicate if needed. All right. Feel better, Fanny. Sorry about that. Awesome. So again, the president will leave of absence. So we will now move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. It reads, be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. What we have in here is an appointment to HRP. Finally, we found someone who wants to do it. The motion reads, whereas an email has gone out over 2 months ago to all of council asking for interest to sit as a non-executive counselor on HRP. Whereas there has recently been interest received by the chair and the vice chair of HRP, be it resolved to appoint mathematics counselor Ben Tischler to the non-executive council seat on HRP for the 2022-23 council year. That's one thing. And the other thing is matters arising from the minutes. We are filing 2 rounds of meeting minutes for exec. One is from August 12th and the other one is from August 19th. So I hope folks have time to review those. They should be good. But I am going to seek unanimous consent on this. If you wish to dissent, please indicate in the chat. Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
Thank you. If I add agenda items now, do I do it at this point? Sorry, I'm tired.
You will do it at adoption of agenda, not consent.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. We'll be seeking unanimous consent on the consent agenda. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat so I can call on you. Seeing no dissent, the consent agenda is carried. We are now moving on to action item number 5, which is adoption of the agenda. Motion reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Can I get a mover?
VP University.
VP University moves. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I will open up the floor for discussion and amendments. If there are any, Nikki, you have the floor.
I have some things to add. Okay, should I just post them in the chat? Okay. Let me start. Okay. I have 4 to add. So, okay. This one. This one. This one. This one. Okay, that's what I'm suggesting to add. Thanks.
Okay, I guess Nikki moves these amendments. Is there a second?
Yep, the titles are actually in it. Yeah.
Is there a second for these amendments?
I guess I will then.
Okay, I will open up the floor for discussion on these amendments. I think I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna list myself here. Couple of things. Motion number 1. Rasco wasn't dismissed, Rasco resigned. And we know because it went to all of exec. I am worried to the wording of that motion that it looks like he's being fired when he really just quit. I can't speak for Duncan. So, or motion number 3 is fine for as far as I can tell.
Wait, sorry, come again, Rasco to resign from council?
What? Sorry?
I thought he was still on the council, right? Rasco.
No, this is a dismissal for as an associate vice president, not council.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to highlight.
I have a direct response to the clarification.
I do want to remind execs here that we do have a speakers list.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the floor for a second, Nikki, but I do want to highlight that there's a speakers list here.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's no problem at all. I can change the wording of the motion if it's sounds I was planning on giving a reason, and it's actually quite mutualistic. Rasco and I had a discussion before the email was sent, and I did dismiss him, but he wanted it to seem like he was quitting, but it was more like it's mutual, if that's okay. So the wording of the motion is accurate to the discussion that we had.
I have a direct response to that, and I'm not going to debate here, but I did speak to Rasco yesterday, and I will be filing his resignation and accepting his resignation, which is worded neutrally. We don't know what happened here, and I'm getting confusing side of the story here. So I am going to suggest, Nikki, for simplicity's sake, that you withdraw motion 1 and we can move on to the batch of amendments to accept Rasco's resignation as the executive committee. Yes, Nikki?
I just have concerns about the motion being accurate to what actually happened. And since I am his supervising executive officer who has talked to him about this, I strongly suggest that we keep it this way, the way that we have it now, because I was the one who had that conversation with him and that knows what happened. Thank you.
Abby, you have a direct response. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a clarifying question. I'm curious if this doesn't violate the dismissal policy or violate policy, because dismissal by an exec only needs to be reported. A resolution needs to be passed at exec if the committee wanted to dismiss an ABP. And since this is a resignation, I think this, quite frankly, I think this motion should be removed and shouldn't even be considered to begin with.
I have a direct response to that. That's actually correct. ABPs need to be given, I think, about a 2-week notice before they get dismissed. So if Rasco did not receive that, then we can't dismiss him. But Nikki, I'm going to give you the response really quickly, but I need to go into Shauna after.
Yeah, I have a direct response via the policy. There's actually no 2-week notice given for dismissal. This is from 17.9. So associate vice presidents may be removed by dismissal by their supervising executive officer, which needs to be officially reported at the subsequent executive committee meeting. So I'm actually doing the proper protocol here, and you can't actually dismiss them prior to the subsequent meeting of the executive committee. Another way is that council and exec can vote by 2/3 resolution, but there's no requirement for any notice or a 2-week notice in council policies R17 for associate vice presidents. And I'm talking specifically about dismissal 17.9 here. Thank you.
Okay, Ishana, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is my opinion. Just since we got like the resignation email from Rasco, I'm thinking also like first conversation, I think it'd be better just to do the resignation for Rasco, just accept that. Also, I'm wondering, like, hearing about like the 2-week notice, I feel like it would just be like more fair to the AVP as well, like even referring to like policy or not, just to like have that. So I agree with like Judith and Abby here.
Awesome. Okay.
Sorry, just to clarify, there's no 2-week notice requirement in the bylaws and policies.
Sorry, out of order.
Okay. Cool. I think this is going to be a contentious amendment here. Nikki, are you moving these amendments in a batch, or were you planning to move them separately?
Yeah, for clarification, I kind of want to just like have a discussion quickly just on like why there is like a contention on like the change of this, just because it seems like there might be like a lack of trust in terms of like the conversation that I did have with Rasco previous to the email being sent. And I'm just really concerned about accuracy, historical accuracy in the recordings and also in the meeting minutes that are done. So I just want to that they are accurate, because although like an email can be sent, it doesn't mean the email is accurate to this how the events actually.
Okay.
In terms of the batch question, I think probably batches would be better, but yeah.
Okay. I have next on the list. I'm going to read out Ben's comment really quickly. Not sure if this is my place, but dismissal by a supervising exec needs to be reported. Dismissal by resolution of the executive committee is set out under 79.b, which states 2/3 resolution of the executive committee, provided the person to be removed shall be given 2-week notice of the meeting on which a resolution is proposed. So this is in policy. So given that I don't think these were met, and
Ben, can you check if you're reading the most recent council poll?
Okay, Nikki, you're speaking out of order.
2021.
I want to highlight this. This is speaking out of order, and this policy was not removed. The only issue we have here is because policy reconciliation is moving slowly, but this has been in policy because we have been reviewing them before people start appointing AVPs. Okay. Then, if you could drop the doc in the chat, that'd be awesome. Okay. Abby, go ahead.
I'm just going to call the question.
Abby's moving to call the question. Is there a second? Oh.
So just to clarify, we're doing this in batches then, right? Can I just remove the suggested amendment for, I'll just like do it for both Rasco and Duncan for motion 1 and 2, and then I'll keep 3 and 4.
Okay, motion 3 was the modification accessibility needs, correct?
Yeah, the discussion I had with John about that. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the discussion item, which was AVP stipends, I believe,
yeah.
Right? Awesome. So Nikki has withdrawn motion 1 and 2, which is a formality. It's procedurally not exactly right, but she is moving the amendments of motion 3, which is office modifications for accessibility needs, and the discussion item AVP stipends. And I think Arthur seconded these, so I am gonna ask for unanimous consent of these amendments from the executive committee. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. I'm seeing no dissents, so that's carried on to the agenda. So we are now back to the motion as is, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. I am going to return to the speakers list. I think after Nikki was Abby, I believe. So Abby,
that's right. Okay, I've got a couple things to amend onto the agenda. First of all, I'd like to move to add on a new section titled 7, New Business. I'm going to throw these motions in the chat. My first motion will be an appointment of AVP for VP Finance and Services. Second motion will be regarding our IEC lawyer. And then I'd also like to add a new section 8 and a new section 9, section 8 being moving camera with discussion items. And under that, I'd put retainer agreement. And then I'd also like to add a new section 9, move X camera. Sorry, section 8 is move in camera. Pardon me, I don't think I said that. Move in camera with the discussion item retainer agreement.
Okay, Abby moves those. Is there a second? All right, I can second.
Oh, sorry. VP external is not.
VP external seconds after. Okay. I will open the floor for discussion on these amendments. Abby, you go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick explanation. We need to review the IEC lawyer thing just because we have the by-election coming up, and then obviously we eventually will have referenda and all that. So it's just a good idea to have legal support for that specifically. And it's good that we have an objective legal support that is not our own SFSS lawyer, A, because they have their own items to handle, and B, it's just an objectivity thing, so we can't influence them. In terms of Aaron being associate or appointed as my AVP, I just think it's a good opportunity for him as he already has experience in DSU level finances. This is a good opportunity for him to learn.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on these amendments? Seeing none, Abby, you moved them as a batch, I presume?
Yes.
I will be seeking unanimous consent on these amendments. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat so I can call you to record your vote. Seeing no dissent, those amendments are carried onto the agenda. We are now back to the main motion still. Be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. I am next on the speakers list. Sorry, Fanny. I'm going to move to amend the agenda to add a new section 6, which is titled Ratification of Regrets. Under there will be a motion that's going to be basically, be it resolved to ratify regrets for the VP Events and Student Affairs, YBOV Aurora for work conflict. And then I will also be amending new business to add 2 new business items. One of them is titled Ratification of Resignation for Rasko Kaprakova as AVP UAA. Too long, it won't paste. Awesome. And then the second one will be mental health first aid reimbursements for building manager. And then unfortunately, I will also be adding 2 in-camera items. One of them will be potential reference checks, and then the second one will be outstanding balances and next steps. So I am going to move this as a batch myself as well. I will seek a second.
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I will open the floor for discussion on these amendments. Seeing none, I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. I am seeing no dissent, so these are carried, and now we're back to the main motion again, which again reads, be it resolved to adopt the agenda as amended. The floor is still open for discussion. If you have anything you want to amend or discuss, please list yourself in the chat now. Being none, I will take us to the vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. Seeing none, the agenda is carried as amended. We will now move on to the next item, which is the amended on section 6, which is ratification of regrets. Motion reads, be it resolved to ratify regrets for the VP Events and Student Affairs Vibe of Aurora for work conflict. I will move. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance second. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing none, I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate that. Okay, I'm seeing nothing. So we can move on to new business. So that is now section 7. The first new business item is a VP appointment for VP Finance and Services. The motion reads, whereas under R17 of Council Policies, Vice Presidents may appoint Associate Vice Presidents to assist in the duties of their respective executive officers. Whereas under R17 of Council Policies, nomination for the position of Associate Vice President shall be ratified subject to an approval by the Executive Committee by a majority vote. Whereas Aaron Fung has been nominated by Abhishek Parmar to be Associate Vice President Finance and Services for the year of 2022 to 2023, be it resolved that the Executive Committee appoint Aaron Fung as the Associate Vice President Finance and Services until April 31st of 2023. Can I get a mover? Okay, the acting VP Equity will move. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
Finance seconds. I will open the floor for discussion on this. Abby, you have the floor.
I'm going to move to amend that last be it resolved clause to change it from April, where'd it go? Whoa. April 31st to April 30th. Okay, my voice went too. That's wonderful. Please, yeah. Thanks.
Abby moves that amendment. I will second that amendment. I will open the floor for discussion on the amendment. I just want to list myself here and just say when I was reading, I was like, hold up. There's no 31st. Aaron's term never ends. He will forever be VP Finance. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the amendment? No? Awesome. I will then go to a vote and I will seek unanimous consent on the amendment. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. I am seeing nothing, so that amendment is now carried. And now we're back to the main motion, which is the identical motion, except it says April 30th, not 31st. Okay, the floor is still open. Go ahead, Abby.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier. Oh my God, what happened to my voice? My goodness gracious. Yeah, I'll be quick. Aaron's involved in a ton of finance related positions. I think he can learn a lot. And for quite frankly, I get along well with him. So if I'm upset and I need him to work on with him, I'm less likely to like yell at him or something. Yeah, but Aaron, if you want to say something, that'd be cool.
Oh, go ahead, Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank Abby for the, offer and position, and, I'm just looking forward to learn more. Yeah.
Awesome. I can't talk today, I swear. Okay, if there's no more discussion on this, I am going to move to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, raise your hand and you can chat. Seeing none, that is carried as amended. Welcome, Aaron. I hope you have fun here. Okay, we are speed running this, so I guess we move on to the IEC motion, and then it basically reads, whereas the IEC might need access to legal support for the by-election for fall 2022, any election or referendum-based appeals for the spring.
Sorry I have a point of information.
Yes, go ahead.
I think I added an item to new business. So is it the last one?
It's here.
Okay.
I just labeled motion number 3, so I added motion number 3.
Okay, thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay. Where was I? Spring 2023 Executive Committee, I think. Yeah, general election and referenda. Whereas it is best to have a separate legal representative that overall SFSS to provide independent advice. Whereas we already had a retainer agreement with Hunter Litigation Chamber. Whereas the rate of legal services has increased slightly, be it resolved that the Executive Committee approve of continuing to use Hunter Litigation Chambers on retainer. All right, can I get a mover?
VP Finance.
VP Finance News, can I get a second?
Acting Litigation Sustainability second.
All right, Arthur will second. I will open the floor for discussion on this. Ishana, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question of like why we can't just use like one lawyer, or like if like the one lawyer could just yeah, that's just my question there, and then I'll direct response, but I have a clarifying question.
Okay. Abby, you have the floor.
So I'll answer that question. Then I also realize what I want to say is totally in camera. So after I say what I'm going to say, I'm going to move us in camera. But I can actually answer your question, Ishana, X camera. So essentially, the idea is the IEC is supposed to be a totally unbiased party. And I know our lawyer is supposed to be fairly unbiased as well, but having someone fresh and someone who doesn't know us is more likely to provide a impartial judgment on the IEC's rulings. And it's also the IEC kind of it's in its name, it's independent. It also is good because our own lawyer already has work to do for us. So having someone who can use their entire focus on the IEC itself and those specific issues means it's more likely we're going to get a response fast, which is what we're going to need. If there's issues with the IEC, we're not going to want to get a response 2 weeks after the by-election's done if we need help right away. And again, I would never try to greenlight an expense that I don't think we need because I hate wasting money. Like I don't even get reimbursed for the stuff I buy for like clubs days and stuff because I refuse. But this is, I unfortunately think this is necessary.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? Yeah, Abby, you have a list.
Also, I'd like to move in camera, please.
Okay. Abby moves to go in camera. Is there a second?
VP External.
VP External will second. I will open the floor for discussion. I'm seeing no discussion on this, so I will take us to vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. Seeing no dissent, we are going to go in camera now. I am going to pause the recording for a hot sec, and I'll be back soon. All right, now we'll be moving X camera. So I'm going to move to go X camera. Can I get a second?
VP University.
University will second. I'm going to open the floor for discussion on this. I am seeing none. I will take this to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. Ishana, go ahead.
Against.
Ishana is against going X camera. Noted. Fanny, please note that for the record. The motion is still carried though. Sorry, Ishana. So now that we're back X camera, we are still at the motion of the IEC lawyer retainer agreement. The floor is still open for discussion on the motion. If you have anything else you'd like to say on the matter, please list yourself in the chat. I am seeing nothing. So I am going to move us to a vote. I will be asking for unanimous consent if you wish to dissent. All right, Ishana. Oh, wait, what? No? Okay, all right, cool. I am unanimous consent. We should dissent. Ishana, go ahead.
I'm voting against, sorry. Yeah, against.
Cool.
Motion.
All right. Cool. Well, seeing that everybody else, I'm assuming, is in favor of this, this is still carried. Noted. Please note for the record that the VP External voted against the IEC lawyer motion. All right, we can move on to the next motion on the agenda then, which is office modification for accessibility needs, submitted by the VP University. Motion reads, whereas the installment of window blinds in the executive committee has been a pending building modification since the opening of the Student Union building, whereas the building manager has been working on determining the logistics where the installment of window blinds in executive offices, whereas there is an accessibility need to install window blinds in sub 4128, be it resolved to approve $3,000 from an appropriate fund for the installment of window blinds as determined by the VP Finance and Services. Can I get a mover?
VP University.
University moves. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. I think, Nikki, you're on the first on the speakers list, so go ahead.
Yeah, so just to provide context, so I've had John is here, so it's good he can provide context too if he feels like it. Yeah, so I've been talking with John since the beginning of the term on the installment of window blinds. We've looked at other options. I've actually attempted to install blinds using less expensive temporary options, and that has been unfortunately unsuccessful. And one thing that I know that it has been planned for a while since the opening, grand opening of the Student Union building is to actually install blinds in the executive committee offices, because we have windows that don't have any blinds. And there's actually like, besides just like accessibility considerations, there's considerations for every single person that works as an exec in offices for the benefit of having blinds. One of the main thing really is confidentiality. So when we're meeting with students, for example, there's often the main situations where the student wants to remain, you know, like relatively like covert and confidential, and it's a bit of a privacy concern to be able to look through the windows all the time when you're having these kind of sensitive meetings. So that's one far-reaching kind of consideration. But there is a medical need specifically to have this approved at this executive committee meeting, so John can get started on the supply and installation, and start with my office first. And my office has 2 windows. So it's the installation for 2 different windows, and it's up to $3,000, so it might not cost that much. And the cost for the overall project will be going to the space oversight committee, and it's projected to, you know, be approved, you know, if it works out for everyone, for all the offices, and the cost for the total project is about $9,935 for all the offices, plus minus 30%, and shouldn't be over 10K all in, which is also coming from the Space Expansion Fund office. And unfortunately, that is the cost of the project. I know John can offer more on that, but that's how much it costs to install windows, because I know also the I think the SFSS has some sort of provision on, you know, having unionized labor, so that's a bit more expensive. And there's the blinds itself, they're going to be the same type, I believe, or similar type to the ones that we see on the external windows, you know, like when we're walking on the 3rd floor, you know, on the ones that you can like kind of pull up and down, like the white ones, I think. So those are that's the type I believe that is going to be installed. And this is something that unfortunately like does need to be done eventually, and has been pushed off for all the exec offices. And the reason I'm asking for it at this meeting specifically is because there is an accessibility need for it to be done first, and as urgently and time sensitively as possible. And I have a doctor as well that can vouch for this. So thank you. Yeah, and if I can, if I have John's consent, I'll just like put the content of the emails in the chat. Thanks.
Cool. I'm going to return to the speakers list here. Abby has retracted his list. So the next person on the list is Ishana. Go ahead.
Also retracted.
Oh, also retracted? Okay. No Ishana, no Abby. I think then the next person on the list is myself. Okay, cool. I have a couple questions here. So we're doing this. Okay, I'm going to just list the questions out and somebody needs to answer them, I guess, in whichever order you can. So this $3,000 is installment of window blinds for only 4128 or all of the offices. That's one. Two, why is it going to SPOC if we're already approving the finances here? Three, my biggest concern is if we have like money scattering left, right, and center from every committee to the next, it's going to be really hard to keep track of this project. And I think that's going to get very confusing very quickly. And it's going to be hard for students to also follow as to what we're spending their money on. And then four, I don't want a blind in my office, and I kind of don't want to waste money on getting a blind in my office. I think that's in my opinion, at least for my office, an unnecessary expenditure. But how is it going to look if we have like one office with no blind, but every other office has one? And then I guess five, we had this discussion, I think, earlier when our term started. Is an easier way to, if you want to block out some site, is just to put like a small like SFSS vinyl on the window, which would be cheaper. So why has that option not been brought up? So these are my like 5 questions. Anybody who wishes to take them on, you may. But yeah, okay. John has a direct response. Go ahead.
Hey, Judith, I can answer your questions. If I don't hit all of them, just ask again and I'll make sure to try and answer as best as I can. So there is a total quote that's been done. It's for 9 different spaces in the Student Union building. That includes the 6 executive offices. It's a student center, the conference room 3331, and then also one of the back administrative offices that has a large window too. So the total cost of installation, supplying insulation in all of those places for Cascadia blinds, which are the same blinds that are in all of the locations in the building, comes in at 9935. What Nikki's proposal is that we separate out what's specifically for Office 4128 from that proposal. And that would be just under probably $3,000. It comes in around 2,500. And that office is just a little bit unique because it has that northwest window as well. That's quite a large window. And it is spec for blackout blinds too, to help with the heat that comes in from the northwest windows. So you could look at doing vinyl in certain locations, which would add privacy for sure. But the northwest window in that office, it would be better to do a blackout blind too, to try and help with temperature regulation too. So yeah, it would be a case of that the full proposal, I believe, is going to go to SPOC, but this would be separating out just Office 4128 to pass it at an executive level, just to expedite it. I don't know if it will or will not pass at SPOC, the whole quotation, but if it is likely that it would just be a matter of taking this out beforehand. If I missed any of your questions, just ask again there and I'll see.
Thanks, John.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the context there. I'm going to do the speakers list. Abby, I think you listed again, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah, there's just a lot here in terms of like, so this was run by me to some degree. I didn't realize it was quite to this extent. I thought we were just doing the exec offices. So those other spaces, I don't know if John, I just missed it maybe when you were talking to me, so that's my bad. But it seems like a decent idea for the conference room because the conference room is bookable and can make us money. So it's kind of a return on investment kind of thing. It makes sense to do. And then obviously we have to accommodate accessibility needs. Obviously the price tag is higher than I'd like, to put it mildly. It's also a matter of exec preference because there may be execs who don't want blinds on their doors as well. So I don't know. I listed again, but I kind of want, oh, John left out. Oh, that's not good. I kind of want to, like, if I could unlist myself again and just go back into the speakers list, I kind of want to hear what everyone else has to say on this, just because, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So Abby, you're done. I guess next person on the list would be John, actually.
Yeah, I can retract that, Judith. I was just going to give the synopsis I gave in response to your questions.
Awesome. Okay, so Ishana, then you're next on the list.
Yeah, so I'm just 9K is like a lot of money. I'm just thinking like, I think as Abby said, like a bookable space would be good. I know for myself, like maybe we could have had more discussion about it in terms of like exec offices. I don't know if that was done like the whole thing because we wanted to do it all at the same time, like the blinds for everyone. Sorry, I just heard, okay, sorry, I got distracted. So I know like for myself too, I wouldn't want like blinds for myself. I like looking outside. But I don't know if it's a thing where everyone would want it for like future execs. Maybe we can like talk about it more. I know that maybe a budget would be also good to kind of like see actually where like how much each blind would cost, like how much it would be for like conference room, how much it would be separately for exec offices, things like that. Maybe just more discussion there. Also, I know like when we first came into office, we talked about having like a cheaper option. So like, I don't know, something from like Best Buy. So like maybe the expensive option for like the conference room, but for exec offices, something cheaper. I'm just wondering because we are accountable to students and the money they use, but that's just my opinion there.
Okay, thank you, Ishana. We have some direct responses popping up in the chat. John, you're first on the direct responses.
Hey, just want to let know that there is individual pricing for each space, and that's all on the proposal that will be going to the Space Oversight Committee. And that's how we're able to take out what the cost of 4128 is specifically. And within the proposal that will go to Space Oversight, it is individual pricing per space. And there's definitely other options in the exec offices that were put forward previously, and that you could do film on the external windows that are in the walkway. That would give you some privacy, but it wouldn't be full blinds. And that would be considerably cheaper in those ones too for anybody who didn't want the blinds.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, you have a direct response.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is to clarify Ishana's question. So yeah, I do want to clarify also that Office 4128 is different because it has an external and internal window, like one facing the internal walkway and one facing the external walkway. And there is actually like even beyond like accessibility for me, for the next person, there's like a health and safety reason actually for having like at least the external window like covered with like something that's like good quality that actually blocks out the heat, because frankly the heat in that office is insane. And when you're the time that you're sitting in that office during council meetings, it's I believe a west facing window. So like the sun is actually shining in during the afternoon. And that's like when you're actually most likely to be in the office during like council meetings. So there's like a long-term health and safety issue, like reason for even just the external window to have like, you know, the insulation from like the good quality blinds that like John has been, thank you so much, been spending time on finding a great option for that. So I really appreciate that. And I also specifically have an accessibility need to actually have that as well, that is separate from even the health and safety consideration. So I want to clarify that this motion here is like saying up to $3,000. So what we can do is we can like John and I can discuss like the provisions, and we can even start with the external window, right? And we don't necessarily need to do like the internal window as well, but I do want to say that I have an accessibility need to have it in the internal facing window as well. I'm not saying that I'll have like them down all the time, but I have a medical need that's like articulated and listed to actually have that. And I was asking for this to be done at the beginning of my term, and it's a requirement, you know, and for like the SFSS based on like our, you know, values to actually like care about accessibility in that kind of way. So like I really would ask for that. And I've also looked at cheaper options for the internal window as well, and they haven't been very good options. So yeah. So this one is up to $3,000. And even if we just start at the external facing window, my office is the only one that has that external facing window, and it does have that health and safety risk as well. Yeah, hopefully that helps clarify. And yeah, thanks Ishana for saying that in the chat.
Okay, cool. Is there any more discussion on this? And I do want to be conscious of time here. We are taking a bit longer than anticipated. So any other questions, thoughts on this before we move to a vote? Oh, sorry, Ella, I didn't realize you had a list. My apologies. Oh, I have one as well. Okay, Arthur, go ahead.
Hi. So I first just want to say I agree with Judith that because first of all, I don't think that not a lot of the offices. I can understand Nikki wanting one because her office has a window, and sometimes I can understand that because her space wise, her computer is right beside a window, so it might be a little bit difficult for her to read the screen if the sun is too bright, for example. With that said, what I think is that like it might be, I would agree saying that like, you know, for conference room, that might be a good option because conference room definitely do need some privacy and people can book it, we can get something in return, like Abby said. So it might be a good thing we can look into that and see if we can start that. But for 4128 specifically, I would say we probably should. There has to be some cheaper options here because $3,000 it's still quite a lot of money, and I don't think like all the other exact offices, as far as I can understand, it doesn't have a window that doesn't need buying or something like that. So if we can get a cheaper option, I would agree to it because I don't want them asking us why are we spending $3,000 on a flying in a window. And we can't explain why we needed them, you know? So I just think that from an equity standpoint where it's a concern, it just doesn't seem fair that we're spending student money in $3,000 on a flight when it doesn't suit like a lot of people. And then like it would be explainable if we spend $3,000 on a conference room, but it doesn't seem fair we're doing it for private reason in an exact office where nobody can go in except for the exact. Thank you.
Okay, John, you have a direct response.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you can find cheaper options for anything. So like if you want to go and look for cheaper options, you can, but it's kind of looking at the industry standard is and the standard around the building already. And that window in particular, the northwest one, like that would shade blind because of the light that does come in through that window, and that's where the majority of the expense in this particular office is coming in. And so that one, like they don't have individual pricing on that northwest window, but if you look at the other rooms, like a regular office room comes in at approximately like $600 just to do the window at the front of your office with the roller shaped blind. But this space 4128 comes in at about $2,100, but then there'd be like extra installation charges if it was taken outside of the project. So you could probably assume that it's that northwest window that's bringing in about like $1,400 in expenditure just on its own. And that's because it does get so much sunlight through that it needs a double shade blind, like effectively 2 levels of blinds for blackout. But yeah, films and things like that, but they wouldn't be as effective. And like my suggestion was that if you're going to try and do a remedy, that you would try and do it right and do it once, and then you'd have it in place for like the next 20 years.
All right, thank you. Nikki, I see you have a direct response, but is it a clarifying question because we are dragging this out? Nikki, can you hear us?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Yes, this is just really quickly to Ishana. Yeah, I just want to clarify about the cheaper option part too, like, and kind of mirror and vouch for what like John said. Like the big problem is like that external window, and that the cheaper options won't have that type of like insulation that's required for the health and safety and accessibility consideration. So there's a clear medical reason for it. Thank you.
Okay, next person on the list, I believe, was myself. I just don't remember what it was about. I think it had something to do with, yeah, okay, yeah, it was, I guess my only thought on this matter is, why is this coming to exec instead of going to SPOC when this whole project, I guess, has an entire like budget itself on SPOC? And I also think this is quite frankly not the best place to bring it to, because we have wasted 30 minutes asking questions about this, because we clearly don't understand what's happening here. So I guess that's one thing. The other thing is I have a massive issue with people bringing massive budget things to exec or council without a budget or a proposal, because it kind of makes it hard for us to see how the money is being used. I'm not a fan as to how this has transpired, but that's all I really have to say. If this is an accessibility issue, I guess we have to go ahead with it. But for future reference, I do want to see at least a paragraph as to where the money is coming from, why we need the money, and like how it's being utilized. I think VP Finance does too. He looks sad. But I'm gonna move on to the next person on the list.
I just have a quick direct response. John, do I have your consent to just screen share the email exchange that we had about this? Just because we actually do have the budget and where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's fine if you'd like.
Yeah, okay, great.
I'm gonna have a point of order here. We should probably not screen share on a recording internal staff communications.
Yeah, this was sent to Abby as well. So I'll just post it in the chat actually. Yeah, okay, that's good for now.
While people are reading this, I will move on to Ella for her list.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in quickly and just say that, Judith, I do align with you, but if it's a accessibility concern, then it makes sense to just move this and get that kind of fulfilled for Nikki as soon as possible. That being said, it seems like there's some inconsistency with like the rest of the exec, whether they do want blinds in their offices or not. And I'm thinking about the future. I think that across the board, there probably should be consistency with that with the rest of you. I think that should probably be put in a proposal that we should see alongside SPOC, that we should see, so we can see the breakdown of how much it's actually going to cost for all of the execs, and we can see big picture. Like, I understand, Nikki, what you're trying to do here is differentiate like your specific office so we get it done faster, but I think folks are missing the big picture. And that's the part where there's a lot of confusion coming in. But John, I see you have a direct response.
John, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that that's always been the plan. So like it was meant to be on the 29th with a briefing note. There's full quotation laid out, it's split out into each area, and then SPOCs could make decision as per area if they wanted to proceed or not. So that's always been the plan. It's just that this has been taken for Nikki's needs.
Cool, noted. Okay, Shauna, I'm gonna close up the speakers list with you though.
Yeah, just super quick. I just want to say that I agree with like Ella. Like I totally like agree with what you're saying. And also like hearing that, can we just like call the question now?
Shauna moves to call the question. I will second. I will seek unanimous consent on calling to question. If you wish to dissent on calling to question, this is your chance. I'm seeing no dissent. The move to call the question has passed. So now we move to vote immediately on the motion. I forgot the title. Office modification for accessibility needs. I think I'm gonna go by a roll call vote because I see we have this discussion fizzled out into some fun things. So I will go to VP Internal myself first. I will be abstaining on this due to no briefing note. VP Finance.
I will abstain.
VP Finance abstains. VP University and Academic Affairs?
In favor.
Okay. Thank you. VP UAA is in favor. VP External?
In favor.
In favor. VP Equity and Sustainability?
I will. Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm going to abstain.
Okay, VP Equity will abstain. VP Events is not here today. So the vote is carried with 2 in favor and 3 abstaining. All right, cool. Let's see when those lines get up as soon as possible, hopefully. All right, we can move on to the next motion in the agenda and hope we can wrap up quickly now, which will be ratification and resignation of Rasko Kapakova as AVP UAA. The motion reads, whereas Rasko Pepperkova has been appointed Associate Vice President, University and Academic Affairs, AVP UAA, on June 3rd, 2022 by a 2/3 majority with the Executive Committee. Whereas Rasko has tendered his resignation as AVP UAA to the Executive Committee in writing via email on September 14, 2022. Whereas there's no clear procedure in regarding AVP resignations, be it resolved that the Executive Committee accepts Rasko's resignation as AVP UAA effective immediately. I will move this. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance seconds. Open the floor for discussion. Seeing no discussion, I will move us to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent if you wish to dissent. Please raise your hands and indicate in chat. Seeing none, that is carried. Rasko is officially no longer AVP UAA. We will now move on to our final new business item. Mental health first aid reimbursement for the building manager. The motion reads, whereas Union Excluded Management has been asked by the Executive Committee to complete their mental health first aid certification to prepare for an in-person return for the fall 2022 semester. Whereas professional development is covered by the SFSS for management. Whereas training has been completed on August 31st, 2022 by the building manager. Whereas both the invoice and certification has been provided to the VP Internal and Organizational Development, confirming the completion of the training. Be it resolved to reimburse the building manager, John Walsh, for $248.60 Canadian from line item 797/46. I will move. Can I get a second? External seconds. I will open the floor for discussion. Silence. No discussion. All right, cool. I will move us to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent if you wish to dissent. Please raise your hand or you can chat. Seeing no dissents, that is carried unanimously. We are now moving on to item number 8 on the agenda, which is moving in camera. Motion reads, I'm so tired. Motion reads, be it resolved to move in camera for the remainder of the meeting. I will move. Can I get a second?
University
seconds. I will open for discussion. Seeing none, I will move to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. Seeing no dissent, that's carried unanimously. John, to answer your question, I will only be taking Sindhu in camera because it kind of pertains to her portfolio. Everybody else is free to go if you wish to. But we're not going to pause the recording and we're going to go in camera. Hi, everyone. Now we move on to our next item on the agenda, item to go ex camera. So I'm going to move to go ex camera. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance will second. I will open the floor for discussion. I'm going ex camera. Seeing no discussion, I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in the chat. I'm seeing no dissent, so I think that carries unanimously. Good. So now we're back ex camera. So I am going to move to suspend the rules to ask the Executive Committee to immediately take up the following motion titled Emergency Delegation for Acting President. The motion would read, whereas discussions in camera pertaining to employment matters received consensus from the Executive Committee, whereas informal options have been considered in camera by the Executive, be it resolved to task the Acting President, Judith Knight, to relay the options discussed to the party in relation to before Monday, September 19, 2022. So I moved it. Can I get a second?
Equity and sustainability second.
Equity and sustainability will second. Suspension of the rule is non-debatable and non-amendable, and it is required a 2/3 majority vote. So I am going to seek unanimous consent on suspending the rules and taking up the following resolution. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand or indicate in chat. I am seeing no dissent, so the suspension of the rule addition of that motion has passed. We will now move on to considering that motion. So the motion again reads, emergency delegation for the acting president, whereas discussion in camera pertaining to the employment matters received consensus from the Executive Committee, whereas informal options have been considered in camera by the Executive Committee, be it resolved to task the acting president to relay the options discussed to the party in relation to before Monday, 19, 2022. I will move the motion. Can I get a second?
VP Finance.
VP Finance will second. I will open up the floor for discussion. ooh, sorry. No, it's not how you spell this. I can spell, I swear. Just to give some context here, once I had the discussion, I will relay back to the executive committee to see what we have, and then we can proceed from further after that. But hopefully things will be okay-ish. Anybody, any thoughts? No, cool. I will move us to a vote then. I will be seeking unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand in the chat. Seeing no dissent, that is carried unanimously. We are now moving on to finally discussion items. 11.1 is executive SOPs. We don't have time for this anymore, so I am gonna move to postpone this to the next executive meeting. Can I get a second?
BP University.
BP University seconds. I will open this for discussion on the postponement. I am seeing no discussion in the chat. So I am going to move us to vote. Who is seeking unanimous consent? If you wish to dissent, please raise your hand and indicate in the chat. Cool. Seeing none, that is carried, and that's postponed to the next meeting. 11.2, AGM planning updates. I am again going to move to postpone. Can I get a second?
PP Finance.
PP Finance seconds. Discussion on the postponement. No? Cool. I'm going to take us to the vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you dissent, please raise your hand and indicate in chat. Seeing none, that's also postponed. Nikki, I'm sorry. 11.3, discussion item, AVP stipends. I'm going to move to postpone to the next
University seconds.
University seconds. I will now open up the floor for discussion. Seeing none, I will take us to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent. If you wish to dissent, raise your hand and indicate in chat. Seeing no dissent, that's also postponed to the next meeting. So we are now moving on to our final item on the agenda, which is adjournment. Motion reads, be it resolved to adjourn this meeting at 12:17 p.m. I will move. Can I get a second?
Oh,
Maybe external seconds. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing no discussion on adjournment, I will move us to a vote. I will seek unanimous consent if you wish to dissent. Raise your hand and you can chat. Yes, Abby.
I'm dissenting because the external seconded.
Okay, Nikki, how do you vote?
Abstain. Yes.
Okay, Nikki abstains. VP Finance dissents. The vote still passes. Yes, cool. Had a really heart attack for a second. Yeah, thank you, Nikki, for abstaining, because that would have been a problem had you not. All right, motion has passed. We are now adjourned. Thank you all. I will pause the recording. Have a wonderful day, and I will see everyone at Street Fest.